Good morning, everyone. It is about 8 o'clock, and I still need glasses. It's August 18th, 2022. Um, I'd like to talk about this is the Spokane experience with Cameron Vesey. Uh, Call me the toothless one. I got my teeth knocked out, so the lisp is new. Um, uh, Mate, okay, so we had our own school shooting not too long ago, right outside of Spokane, Freeman, Washington. Uh, and so the kid's going to trial now or whatever. I'd like to speak upon the state of psychology, the state of our culture, and how the acceptance of certain mentalities have become the norm so that people with mental illnesses like LGBTQ people, maybe not so much the G's. What's up, G? I don't think if you're necessarily gay, you're mentally ill. Uh, I j- I'll give the gay like, hey, being gay is kind of gay, but it's not a mental illness. I wouldn't say. Um, but the rest of those, okay, probably mentally ill to some degree if they identify with all those alphabet letters. So today's newspaper day spoke the Spokane Communist Review. Sharp had no major mental illnesses at the time of shooting. Psychologist says. So to make a reference, I believe psychologists today are like what a grand jury is to a prosecutor. They can indict a ham sandwich if they wanted to. Because psychology has been watered down by the liberal, not the liberal left, kind of liberal left, but the woke in colleges. I mean, this goes just straight into Jordan Peterson, James Lindsay, the whole infiltration in academia in the social sciences. Try to say that without your fucking front teeth. So, if everything's subjective, we could call Kevin Coe sane, or anyone we wanted to. So, Freeman High School shooter, celeb Sharpay, had no ink pen. I'm sorry, Sharpie. Major mental illness when he opened fire on his classmates nearly 5 years ago when he was 15 years old. So, call me base, call me old-fashioned, but when I read about a 15-year-old opening fire on his classmates, I'm assuming the kid had some mental issues in order to do that. And when I say mental issues, I am saying an illness of the brain, trauma that is not normal, created from either genetic dysfunctions, malfunctions, or outside induced trauma. A 15-year-old opening fire on his classmates, even without diagnosing it any further. I'm going to say there had to be some sort of mental process, right? His model of the world or his perspective of the world had to be delusional and untrue to some degree in order for him to be compelled to commit such an act of to pull that trigger Like, so, but let's dive into why the psychologist couldn't find this disturbed young man mentally ill. Because, and I don't know this for a fact, so there's a lot of conjecture here. There's a lot of me just assuming things about this psychologist which I couldn't possibly know. So this is just my gut feeling combined with my incredibly talented brain. I bet you this psychologist believes that the George Floyd shooting justified the riots. I bet you this psychologist believes that Biden is mentally competent and was mentally competent while he was running. I bet you this psychologist believes climate change is the number one threat to humanity. I bet you this psychologist believes mutilating our children in the name of transgender rights is okay. I'm not trying to justify what this kid did, but I'm saying our culture has to be responsible. If we're going to go further, right? I'm all about getting tough on crime and drug addicts. They're like, fucking throw the book at get those fuckers in jail so they can get clean and sober and dried out. That's actually more compassionate. Now, look, we need to get these fucking jails in not the prison. See, oh God. We don't need prison reform. We need county jail reform. And the reason I say that is because they're dungeons. Okay? So I get the liberal left's passionate hatred for the county jails because they're inhumane. And I think that's an issue that seriously needs to be addressed. But I also think we need to make them bigger so they will be humane, and we can throw these low-offending repeat offenders in there to straighten them out and get them off the drugs because the rehab system is broken too. All right? It's hard for me not to take all these issues because it's so hard because they all are, so many things about our culture and society are broken that you, like the climate, you can't just go put them in jail and then ignore the atrocious conditions that are in jail. Well, they broke the law. No, I'm sorry. If we're going to be sophisticated, civilized people, we need to go, well, yeah, if we need to throw them in jail, but we got to fix that fucking jail, right? You can't just say, well, they broke the law. It's hard. So, where were we? This young man who opened fire, 15 years old, opened fire on his fellow classmates, is obviously suffering from some mental illness, a delusion. And if you read the article, it says he's making progress in rehab. He's not likely to yeah. Because he's probably a disturbed kid that was being fed the sickness that these teachers have been, that capitalism is wrong, free markets are wrong, America's the worst. I can see where if he watched the news as much as I do, but without the experience I have, right, to be able to parse out what might really be going on. Like he could be a smart kid with no experience, buying into the Marxism, buying into the postmodernism, buying into the fact that we have no free will. God, to put forth such a fucking theory that humans have no free will, regardless if it's true or not, to put it forward just out there, and I'm not saying you can't. We need to battle such delusionary, unproductive theories that are not proven. Even if science kind of looks that way, say, well, we don't, but you don't know. Trust me, they don't know. Daniel Dennett, Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins, it's not a valid, established. The standard model has less holes in it, and it has a lot of holes, than the free will model. So I could see this young man watching Sam Harris being fed determinism, making him nihilistic, like, well, it was going to happen regardless. There is no free will. This young man was suffering from something. And for a psychologist to get up there, see, and this is where the scientists get Ian McGilchrist, Master and its Emissary, The Matter with Matter, or whatever. This is where the left brain hemisphere, the scientist type who make everything black and white on paper, does a interview, evaluation, marking off boxes, right? Cross-referencing a book to the answers and things of that nature, while having his own conscious biases and conscious, or what's the word? Dissonance about reality. He doesn't believe that the rise in teen and young adult suicide has anything to do with telling our children that we're all going to die. CO2 is killing everyone. America is the worst country in the world. Free markets are the root of all evil. And, the world's going to end in 12 fucking years. These things, he doesn't believe that those are the reasons why our children, the overprescription of drugs, the dodging the responsibility of properly bringing children up by fucking worthless parents, by medicating the kids instead of holding the parents accountable to discipline their kids and keeping them in line. This fucking psychologist has to be mentally ill if he can't separate the diagnosis from the reality that for a 15-year-old boy in rural America outside of Spokane, Washington, one of the richest in nature, it is a privilege and a luxury to grow up where I grew up. We've got mountains, we've got trees, we've got lakes, we've got rivers, we've got nightlife, we've got cities, we've got anything you might want in moderation. We used to, goddamn Californians. This boy needs to be held accountable for what he did. But as a society, for justice, we cannot swallow a prosecutor who's making no, god damn it, he's a 15-year-old kid. To ignore the impacts that our culture and society played in all mass school shootings. To ignore that, to act like this kid isn't suffering from the impacts of a sick society, is fucking shameful, disgraceful, unethical, and dare I say, sinful. You know me, I'm not a religious person, so to speak. Well, there you have it. That's my take. This is Cameron Vesey. the Spokane experience, and this is what's wrong with my city, with my state, with my country. It ain't the guns, it's the culture.